Imagine waking up one morning to a world without the familiar hum of technology. Your phone is nothing more than a dead slab of metal and glass. The internet, that vast repository of information and entertainment, is gone. Your refrigerator stands silent, its contents slowly warming to room temperature. This isn't a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. It's a scenario that every prepper knows could become a reality. For our ancestors in the 1870s, this was simply life. They didn't have the luxury of relying on electricity, the internet, or supermarkets. Their survival depended on a deep connection with the land and a mastery of skills that have largely been forgotten in our modern world. This essay isn't about romanticizing the past or advocating for a complete abandonment of technology. It's about recognizing the vulnerability that comes with dependence on complex systems and rediscovering the timeless wisdom that allowed our ancestors to not just survive, but thrive. By understanding how people in the 1870s lived, we can glean invaluable lessons about self-sufficiency, resilience, and the importance of being prepared for anything. So let's take a journey back in time to a world where life was simpler, harder, and perhaps more fulfilling. The year is 1870, a time when the world was vastly different from what we know today. The electric light bulb is still a few years away from being invented. People relied on gas lamps and oil lanterns to light their homes and streets. The telephone is a novelty, a strange device few have seen or used. Communication over long distances was primarily done through letters and the telegraph. The internet, computers, smartphones, these are concepts that reside in the realm of science fiction, not everyday life. People gathered around fireplaces for warmth and light, sharing stories and experiences. Life in the 1870s was intimately connected to the rhythms of nature. The majority of people lived in rural areas, working the land to sustain their families. The sun dictated the workday, and the seasons determined what food was available. From dawn to dusk, people toiled in the fields, planting, tending, and harvesting crops. People lived in small communities, often in rural areas, where they relied on each other for support and survival. These tight-knit communities were the backbone of society. Daily chores revolved around securing basic necessities: food, water, shelter, and warmth. Women cooked over open fires, while men chopped wood for fuel. Men and women worked side by side, their roles often blurred by the sheer necessity of getting things done. Cooperation was essential for survival. Children, too, were expected to contribute to the family's well-being, learning essential skills from a young age. They helped with farm work, household chores, and caring for younger siblings. While this way of life may seem primitive or even harsh by today's standards, it fostered a deep understanding of the natural world and a level of self-reliance that is largely absent in our modern society. Families gathered around handmade meals, sharing the fruits of their labor. The people of the 1870s were intimately familiar with the land, the plants, the animals, and the weather patterns that shaped their lives. They knew how to read the signs of nature to predict weather changes and ensure successful harvests. They were, by necessity, skilled hunters, gatherers, farmers, builders, and healers. Each person had to wear many hats to ensure the community's survival. They learned to make do with what they had, to repair what was broken, and to waste nothing. Clothes were made by hand and tools were repaired rather than replaced. Their lives were a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of the human spirit. Despite the lack of modern conveniences, they thrived through hard work, cooperation, and a deep connection to the world around them. For people in the 1870s, the land wasn't just a place to live, it was a lifeline. The land provided everything they needed to survive and thrive. It was their source of food, shelter, and warmth, and it shaped their daily lives in profound ways. It provided the food they ate, the materials they used to build their homes, and the fuel they used to cook their meals and stay warm. Every aspect of their existence was intertwined with the land, and they had to be resourceful and knowledgeable to make the most of what it offered. Knowing how to find food and resources in the wild was not a hobby, it was an essential skill. People had to be adept at identifying edible plants, tracking animals, and understanding the seasonal cycles of nature to ensure they had enough to eat throughout the year. Foraging, the gathering of wild plants for food and medicine, was a way of life. It required a deep understanding of the local environment and the ability to recognize which plants were beneficial and which were harmful. Women and children would spend hours each day scouring the woods and fields for edible plants, berries, nuts, and mushrooms. This activity was not only crucial for their diet but also a way to pass down knowledge from one generation to the next. They possessed a deep knowledge of the local flora, knowing which plants were safe to eat, which had medicinal properties, and which were best avoided. This knowledge was often shared through stories and hands-on teaching, ensuring that everyone in the community could contribute to their collective well-being. Hunting was another crucial skill, providing a vital source of protein and other nutrients. It required patience, skill, and an intimate knowledge of animal behavior and the landscape. Men and boys would often spend days away from home, tracking game through the forests and plains. They had to be proficient in using various weapons and traps to ensure a successful hunt. They were skilled with a variety of weapons, including rifles, shotguns, bows and arrows, and traps. Each tool had its specific use, and knowing when and how to use them was critical for a successful hunt. Farming was the backbone of survival, providing a steady supply of grains, vegetables, and fruits. It required hard work, dedication, and a deep understanding of the land and its cycles. Families worked tirelessly to cultivate their land, using hand tools and animal power to plow, plant, and harvest their crops. This labor-intensive process was essential for ensuring they had enough food to last through the year. They understood the importance of crop rotation, seed saving, and natural pest control methods. These practices helped maintain soil fertility, ensure a diverse and resilient food supply, and protect their crops from pests and diseases. The relationship between humans and the land in the 1870s was one of deep interdependence. People relied on the land for their survival, and in turn, they took care to manage it sustainably. People respected the land, understanding that their survival depended on its bounty. They practiced sustainable methods to ensure that the land could continue to provide for future generations. They took only what they needed and took care to preserve the delicate balance of nature. This respect for the land and its resources was a fundamental aspect of life in the 19th century, shaping their culture, traditions, and way of life. In the 1870s, there were no supermarkets stocked with an abundance of food available year-round. Instead, people relied on local markets and general stores, which offered a limited selection of seasonal produce and goods. This scarcity made it essential for families to find ways to preserve food to last through the year, especially during the harsh winter months when fresh produce was scarce. Preserving food was not a matter of convenience, it was a necessity for survival. Without modern refrigeration or freezing techniques, people had to be creative and resourceful in their methods. They developed various techniques to ensure that their food supplies would not spoil and could sustain them through the leaner times. The long, cold winters and the unpredictable nature of agriculture meant that families had to be resourceful in preserving their harvests to ensure they had enough to eat throughout the year. This often involved a combination of methods to maximize the longevity and usability of their food stores. Each family had its own set of practices, passed down through generations, tailored to their specific environment and available resources. One of the most common and effective methods of food preservation was drying. This method was particularly useful for fruits, vegetables, herbs, and meats. By removing the moisture content, the food became less susceptible to mold and bacteria, which thrive in moist environments. Fruits, vegetables, herbs, and meats were sliced thinly and laid out in the sun or hung near a heat source to remove moisture and prevent spoilage. This process could take several days, depending on the weather and the type of food being dried. The end result was a lightweight, shelf-stable product that could be rehydrated and used in cooking throughout the year. Drying food not only extended its shelf life but also concentrated its flavors, creating unique and flavorful ingredients for soups, stews, and other dishes. Dried fruits could be enjoyed as snacks or used in baking, while dried herbs added depth to various recipes. Dried meats, often referred to as jerky, provided a portable and long-lasting source of protein. Another popular method was smoking, particularly for meats and fish. Smoking not only preserved the food but also imparted a distinctive smoky flavor that was highly prized. This method involved a careful balance of time, temperature, and wood type to achieve the desired results. Smoking involved hanging food in a smokehouse or over a fire pit, allowing the smoke to permeate the meat and impart a distinctive smoky flavor while also inhibiting bacterial growth. The process could take several hours to several days, depending on the size and type of meat. The resulting smoked meats were not only delicious but also had a significantly extended shelf life. Smoked meats could last for months, providing a valuable source of protein during the lean winter months. This method was especially important for preserving large quantities of meat from livestock slaughtered in the fall, ensuring that nothing went to waste. Pickling was yet another way to preserve the bounty of the garden. This method involves submerging vegetables in a vinegar-based brine, which created an acidic environment that prevented the growth of harmful bacteria. Vegetables like cucumbers, onions, and peppers were submerged in a vinegar-based brine, which prevented spoilage and added a tangy flavor. The pickling process could be adjusted with various spices and herbs to create a wide range of flavors, from sweet to spicy. Pickled vegetables were a welcome addition to winter meals, providing a burst of flavor and much-needed vitamins. They could be enjoyed on their own, added to sandwiches, or used as a condiment to enhance the taste of other dishes. Root cellars, cool, dark, and humid spaces typically dug underground, played a vital role in food preservation. These natural refrigerators provided the ideal environment for storing root vegetables, fruits, and other produce, extending their freshness for weeks or even months. These natural refrigerators provided the ideal environment for storing root vegetables, fruits, and other produce, extending their freshness for weeks or even months. The consistent temperature and humidity levels in root cellars helped to slow down the natural decay process, allowing families to enjoy their harvest long after it had been gathered. These traditional methods of food preservation may seem like relics of a bygone era, but they are a testament to the ingenuity of our ancestors and their ability to live in harmony with the natural world. By understanding and utilizing the resources available to them, they were able to create sustainable and effective ways to ensure their survival. Today, these methods are experiencing a resurgence as people seek to reconnect with their food and reduce their reliance on modern conveniences.